Hi and welcome to climbingarborists.com. So today Connor and I have got this quite large spruce tree to remove. So the spruce tree is coming down because it's got a huge root system that's causing damage to the property garage, the foundations, the asphalt, everything like that. So this tree is actually a really straightforward, very simple removal. It would come down very quick, wouldn't really need too much rigging and that kind of stuff, but for demonstration purposes and to make a few educational videos, today we're actually gonna rig it down using various different methods of rigging for the purpose of making educational videos for you guys. So for this technique, I'm going to set up a false crotch rigging system, and I'll give you a scenario. I personally work on a lot of coniferous trees, single stem trees, and sometimes having the rigging line up against the stem and all the branches being rigged down against the trunk of the tree sometimes isn't ideal, because you might have objects on the ground that you need to avoid. You might have a steep gradient that's not ideal for walking up and down and dragging branches off. So sometimes even 10 foot away from the tree could be ideal, like an ideal rigging dropping point. So to create a false crotch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie on kind of like a high line, although it doesn't need to be like a super tensioned high line. I'm going to hard tie it to the top of the tree. Then I'm going to have Connor on the ground tie it off to a base of the tree, but before that I'm going to tie like an alpine butterfly, and I'm going to estimate whereabouts it needs to be depending on how far out from the tree I want the rigging point. But let's say I'm going to pull up 15 to 20 feet, tie an alpine, then Connor will take out the system and tie it on the tree wherever we can choose one, depending on the location on the job site, and then we'll see where that alpine butterfly is going to be. Then I'm going to attach the pulley to the alpine that we're going to rig from, and then the rigging line will be installed through the pulley. So might sound complicated, but it's a very simple system, and it can make a job so much easier just by moving that rigging point from against the trunk of the tree out 10 feet or so. So first thing I'm going to do is hard tie my high line around the tree. So I'm going to tie it on using a running bowline, and then I'll back it up using the Yosemite tie off. Okay, secondly, I need to tie the alpine butterfly, so I'm going to pull up about 15 or 20 feet, and then we can see where the alpine ends once we tighten it up. Okay, so now next is to put on the rigging block. So I'm actually using a rigging wrench. So I'm going to use a carabiner first through the alpine butterfly, just because this rigging line is pretty thick. There's not going to be enough space in the rigging wrench. So the rigging wrench I've got on a sling that I designate for my rigging gear. So all the branches we're going to be rigging is going to be fairly light stuff, obviously, because we're using the rigging wrench, which is designed for quite light rigging anyway. So the sling is going to be perfect for that. And then you see, so we've got the alpine, the carabiner, the sling, and the rigging wrench. Okay, so now I need to put in the rigging line through the rigging wrench. And then we're going to feed this all the way down to the ground. Okay, I'm just going to chuck this rope out. If you just want to tie the sling around the base of that tree there, please. Okay, Connor, if you just want to grab the rigging line and tie an alpine butterfly, estimate whereabouts you think you might be able to reach the sling. Remember to set and dress the knot as well, please, mate. Okay, so we've got the high line in. So one point on the high line is because, you know, we're not needing like a really stiff static line that needs to be so tightly tensioned. So it doesn't matter too much if you use like a really static rope, because here in this application I'm actually using another rigging line that I have, which obviously rigging lines have quite a lot of stretch, but it doesn't matter in this scenario because it doesn't matter if the rope stretches a little more, a little less, because it's going down on an angle and it's not so important. So we have the rigging line attached here. Now I've probably got about 12-15 feet from the hard tie to the alpine, which once we've tightened it up might give us about 8 to 10 feet of lateral distance. So Connor, if you just want to tighten that up for me, please, mate. Yeah, nice one. Nice. Yeah, that'll work perfect. For the purpose of this video, we're using the rig and wrench, and that's mainly because everything else on this actual tree job site makes sense to use a rig and wrench, but for this specific video the wrench actually adds too much friction for like single branch rigging of these spruce branches, so we're actually not using the wrench part of the rig and wrench, we're just using it as a pulley, purely for this rigging style of video. When you're talking about using ropes on angles, there's always the issues of different forces being applied and increasing the forces from the load and all that kind of stuff. But because in this scenario we're only rigging off branches, and the load of the branches, there's going to be no dynamic shock loading, and the actual weight of the branches isn't going to be a huge amount. I'm not worried about using this high line, and the angle's kind of quite steep anyway, so I'm not using like horizontal angles where there's going to be like 180 degree, flat lines and stuff. So for this application I'm not worried about forces on the tree, on the stem, that kind of thing. So that's how to set up a false crotch. So if you want to rig some branches down, 6-8 foot out from the trunk, just because there's an obstacle below, fence below, then use the false crotch system. It's great in the right situation. So thank you for watching this video again by climbingarborist.com, and I'll see you on the next one.